News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
At Healthcare Partners Medical Group, our mission is to provide the highest quality of healthcare to each and every patient. With 5 locations in Pahrump, we are local doctors you know and trust. We want to thank you for choosing us. Quality care starts here.
I ran for Justice of the Peace here in Pahrump in 2006 and 2008.
There you go. And you were arrested, when was that?
I was arrested January 10th, 2009 here in Pahrump at my home. I was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, whereas I was the person who called the sheriff's department due to off-road vehicles on public roadways in front of my home and stuff. And basically, I followed all the instructions of the deputy who came out, and he had me go to the person's home and identify the person that lives in my subdivision, and I did that. And while I was waiting for the deputy to fill out the citation, he told me to wait in my vehicle because they called me over to the house to identify the people. Yeah. And he told me, he said, wait here in your vehicle, Mr. DeCanio, which I did. I followed all his instructions. He went back to his patrol car. While he's filling out the citations, one of the individuals approached my vehicle. And I told him, stay away from my vehicle. He's approaching me. And he kept coming towards me, threatening me, and I'm screaming out to the deputy, hey, deputy, get this guy away from me. He's got no business threatening me like this. The deputy gets out of his vehicle, starts walking back with the citation, and I told the deputy, Mr. Brady here was threatening me. He says, well, I heard you calling out to me, but I couldn't see or hear what was going on. I says, okay, then I'll let it go then.
Who was the deputy?
The deputy was Deputy Cannon, Mark Cannon, from the Nye County Sheriff's Department.
And I know that ATVs and motorcycles, off-road vehicles in neighborhoods are a common complaint because of the dust and the noise, and they do get quite a few phone calls on those to quiet it down. They wanted you to identify the person because you wanted to follow through with the citation.
Yes, that's correct. As a matter of fact, this wasn't the first time. I have probably between 50 to 60 calls to the Sheriff's Department. I've sat in the Sheriff's Department and spoke to Sheriff DeMeo directly. I've spoken to Captain Beck about this problems and stuff, and they just ignored it. But on several occasions, I actually had people issued a citation from this resident. So these people were very upset with me. And this particular day, I was having a relative of theirs issued a citation. So it was obvious that these people were very upset. Well, after the deputy sent me back home to fill out what they call the incident report about what I saw, I go back home. The deputy comes back to my home, and he asks me, he says, now he knows me because the deputy had been out there 6 to 8 times prior. And he asked me, he says, Mr. DeCanio, do you have any weapons? I said, well, sure. I says, I got a concealed carry card. He says, can I see it? I said, well, sure. So I showed it to him, and he called in the number. He said, the card is fine. He said, do you have any weapons? I said, well, not on me, but I've got one in my vehicle. So he said, can I see it? I said, sure, no problem. I go into my vehicle. I come out with a little 5-shot 38 stainless steel revolver. And as I hand it to the deputy, I said, deputy, be careful. This is a loaded weapon. He says, okay. He calls the number, and he said, the gun is fine. He hands a loaded weapon back to me. I put it back in my vehicle. Now, that right there tells you that he's in no fear of his life or nobody's in any danger. He's allowing me to have a loaded weapon in my hand, and he hands it back to me. A little while later, he asked me if I pointed a weapon at anybody at the other residence. I said, absolutely not. I said, you were right there. I said, if I'd have pointed a weapon at somebody, they'd have been running up to you telling you what I did. I says, nobody said nothing. Nobody was screaming or ducking or anything. I know if somebody was pointing a weapon, I'd be ducking and running. And actually, as it turns out, even the police report says that these people never said a word to the deputy until after I left. They didn't say it while I was there. Now, why wouldn't they say the deputy was right at my vehicle and I'm signing this complaint? He's 2 feet away from me. Why wouldn't they tell him there? They waited till after I left. Well, anyway, the deputy arrested me at my home without a warrant. That's a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights to be safe and secure in my home. Now, the fact that these people signed witness statements. Yeah. That should have started an investigation, not a warrantless arrest. Now, what Sheriff DeMeo said, number one, Sheriff DeMeo said several things. He said, I have no right to demand a trial by jury. Only the defense can demand a trial by jury. Well, he's 100% wrong. Nevada Rules of Civil Procedure number 38 clearly states that either party can demand a trial by jury.
This is with the court case that happened because you were in turn suing the Nye County Sheriff's Office and other officers stemming from this incident. So he's saying that now that since you're the plaintiff, you can't demand a trial by jury because they're the defendants in this case.
But you see, here's the thing. He's 100% right if this was a criminal trial. In a civil trial, either side has a right to a trial by jury. Now, in my criminal case, which they dragged on for 2 years, which is part of my lawsuit, that they violated my Fifth Amendment right to due process of law and my Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. That particular case, now they're saying that I don't know the law, I can't present nothing. Well, I presented that case after 2 years of having it hang over my head. I presented that case to a jury of my peers. That jury took 20 minutes to come back with a not guilty verdict. That's like record time. That jury actually told the Sheriff's Department and the District Attorney's Office that this case you brought against Mr. DeCanio is ridiculous.
So you won that one, but this new one, the civil case, didn't go through.
No, actually, what happened was about 10 days ago, September 26th, Judge James A. Brennan issued a summary decision knocking out the whole case. But you see, even he violated my rights. See, a summary judgment should never be issued unless it's beyond doubt that there is a case. In other words, like they don't want some frivolous case coming up. Mine's not, I'm not basing my case on accusations. I've got facts. I've got documents. I can show perjured documents. I've got a police report that will clearly show that I didn't do nothing. I've got a police report that will show that what Sheriff DeMeo said in the newspaper is totally false. I've got the legal secretary from the district attorney's office. She notarized a criminal complaint May 29th, 2009. The assistant sheriff, William Weldon, he signed a notarized paper, signed it and dated it June 2nd, 2009, 5 days after this paper was notarized. According to the law, that's perjury of affidavit. That's a Class D felony.
What did they sign a paper for?
The paper was the criminal complaint to arrest me and stuff.
And so this criminal complaint says that you had a black gun, and in fact you have a silver gun with a wood handle?
Yes. They claim that, well, because the gun has a black holster, that maybe they mistook the black holster for a gun. Well, nobody who is trained in weapons will ever point a holster at somebody. If I ask somebody, have you ever seen anybody point a holster at somebody? It's obvious that even if the gun wasn't a holster, they couldn't tell if it was a revolver or not. They all said it was a black revolver.
Was it in a holster? Did you have your holster on you?
No. Actually, I keep this in my car. I wasn't wearing the gun. The gun was in my vehicle. That's why when the deputy asked me if I had a weapon, I was just complying with him.
Was it in a holster in your vehicle?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Was it black?
Yeah, the holster was black, but the gun it's actually stainless steel. And in the police report, the deputy actually describes it as shiny silver. Mm-hmm. Now, another thing, Sheriff DeMeo said that the Supreme Court has said that law enforcement can arrest people without a warrant because of probable cause. Well, he's right to a certain extent, but he didn't tell you the whole story. That's only when there's exigent circumstances. What that means is if there is like a public safety issue, if a deputy feels that, hey, people can get hurt, or if the deputy saw something himself, or if he feels that like maybe the criminal is going to flee the scene. Well, there was nothing there. I'm a homeowner with just me and my wife on 1.5 acres of property with nobody around. This was supposed to start an investigation, not a warrantless arrest. If they would have done their job and investigated and brought these people in and interrogated them and spoke to me like I actually went in to speak to them, they refused to speak to me.
Do you think that this was a warranted arrest because they thought people could get hurt? You and Mr. Brady were kind of heated, weren't you?
No, actually, this went on for a long time. And even in the criminal trial, I asked the deputy on the stand, have you ever heard me make a threat against these people? He said no. And the deputy never did. Like I says, the deputy allowed me to have a loaded weapon in my hand. I handed him a loaded weapon. Does that sound like he's in fear of his life? He hands a loaded weapon back to me. Yeah. So it's obvious now he didn't actually arrest me. What he did, he told me to wait there. He went into his patrol car and talked on his cell phone to a supervisor who I don't know. That's who he called John Doe. The supervisor told him to arrest me. So, I mean, a supervisor who never saw nothing, didn't hear nothing, told him to arrest me without a warrant. That supervisor should have told him, what you do, interrogate those witnesses, then we'll bring Mr. DeCanio in, and we'll see if a crime was really committed.
Do you know if that's what he was doing on the phone? Was he asking his supervisor if he should conduct the arrest, or do you know if he was just checking out, IDs? Because I know that they make those calls in there. Was it a cell phone, or was it on his actual radio?
No, it was. I seen him go into his patrol car, and he closed the door, so I couldn't hear a word he said. It really appeared like he was on a cell phone. And even in the criminal trial, he stated under oath that he talked to his supervisor who instructed him to arrest me. Well, this is what you call a warrantless arrest. If the sheriff's department can arrest people strictly on an accusation, anytime you have anybody that don't like you, they just make an accusation and the police come in and drag you out. Well, that was supposed to end with the Nazi regime. We're supposed to have constitutional rights, and there's certain procedures. These are trained people in the law and its procedures. Law enforcement, the district attorney's office, they know what's right. But you see what I think? I think that this was a little vindication that the sheriff's department wanted to teach me a little lesson, because I've been a little vocal about some of their mistakes in the past, and they don't like that.
So you think this has to do with prior experiences with the sheriff's department?
Yes, because actually I've been very vocal in the newspapers, and I actually had a TV program called Louie and the Flagman for approximately a year and a half and stuff. Now, on that program, we basically spoke the truth, but sometimes the truth rubs people the wrong way, people in authority. So I feel this was more like a way they says, okay, we have an opportunity to pay him back for some of the stuff he said about us, even though the stuff I say is true. And like I told the judge last week, I says, all I want is my day in court. I'm not looking for favors. The Constitution says that I have a right to a trial by jury and my peers. Let me present my case, let the defense present their case, and let the jury take the facts and the evidence, put it all together, and the wisdom of the jury should make a decision, and I'll live by whatever their decision is. But this judge knocked everything out. He says I had no case. Well, that's not up to him to decide. This is not a frivolous case. I've got documentations and proof. I can prove everything I say.
So at this point, it's all dropped. Are you going to file an additional lawsuit? I know that the sheriff's department is possibly looking into recouping some of their fees.
Well, actually, this case isn't over yet, even though the judge said it's over. Until it's actually, this order is in writing, it's not over. Now, I'm going to put a motion in to reverse this order. Okay, I have a certain period of time which I'm working on right now. If the judge will not reverse this order, I'm taking this to the Nevada Supreme Court. Because what a lot of people don't realize, today this is me, where they can come into my home and arrest me without a warrant. Tomorrow could be you. We have constitutional rights. We all wave the flag. I'm a veteran, and I know that we have a lot of veterans. We can't wave the flag and tell everybody that we have constitutional rights to be safe and secure in our home when a deputy can come to your home, arrest you strictly on an accusation.